Well, as it would be, we're about on the same track here once again. Um, I'll be following up pretty much what Freddie was talking about to an extent, except for slightly different, but it's kind of the same thing, even though he said he didn't know what he was talking about. uh, it's, uh, it's interesting. Um, I'll tell you a quick little story here. Last night, I was awake some, which happens every night, like you. But I'm able to get more sleep through the night. But I usually wake up and my hand is on fire. It's burning. It is burning like it's really in hot coals. It's just burning. Just what it does when I sleep. And I put up with it, and I deal with it, and try and do things, and then I usually end up falling back to sleep doing things like thinking about nonsensical things to somewhat, and you fall back asleep, and you get some sleep. And I pray to God and say, can I just get some sleep, please? Well, last night I think I had enough of it. I got a little upset, like I'm prone to do. And it was burning bad. It was hurting. And I prayed to God. I said, can I get some relief from this? Can you make this go away? And it just, I laid there for a little bit, and it just stayed, and it was just burning and burning. And then finally, I did one of my moves. I said, why do you say, ask and you will receive? Why do you tell me to ask you for a favor and you don't give it to me? And at that very second, my hand didn't fade away. It just stopped. It stopped. And I just said, thank you, dear God. I appreciate that so much. And it hasn't burned since then. I don't think it's probably not totally gone, not with my messed up neck and everything, but it was so refreshing because I went back to sleep and I slept good, which this week wasn't my best week of sleeping either. I was not getting enough sleep. I even came home early one day when I went to work. I only worked a couple hours and just went home and went straight to bed. It was still dark out. So yeah. I took it as that was God letting me know, hey, I'm still here. I still got you. I know what's going on. Calm down. And that's just the way I took it. I don't know how you would take it or whatnot, and you might also say, Chris, you should not talk to him like that. But I tend to do it occasionally. So anyway, with that in mind, or not in mind, because it's different from this. I want to talk about Ruth a little bit. Talked about this before. Hopefully this isn't, it's been a while as far as I could tell by my notes. And I'll kind of ramble through this. I won't read it word for word. But, Naomi had a husband, and there was famine in Judah. And they were actually from, her husband's name was Elimelech, yeah. And they were from Bethlehem, Judah. But this famine in the land caused him to think, well, we need to go somewhere else. So he took his wife and his two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, and took them up to the country of Moab. And there they found a place where they could settle and they could do some work, and they could be sustained. And his sons took wives. One took a wife, Chilion took a wife, her name was Oprah, and Mahlon took a wife, and her name was Ruth. And both these women were Moabite women. And so time goes through, Elimelech dies. And then eventually They lived in Moab for a total of 10 years, but then eventually at that time, Mahlon and Chilion both died. So it was just the three women, Naomi, the mother, and the two daughter-in-laws. So Naomi says, hey, girls, I'm going back to Israel, back to Judah, because she had heard that God had visited them and brought them bread. That's in Ruth 1:6. His people in giving them bread is what it says here. And she told the girls, y'all go home. Y'all go to your mother's house. Y'all return home. And I will go to the land of Judah. And she blessed them. She told them, the Lord grant you, I'm in Ruth 1:9, the Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband, hoping they would remarry. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And at first they both said, surely we will not return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, no, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Do I have any more sons in my womb? I'm of old age and all this. And in verse 12, I'll probably read from there on down to 18, I think. Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave to her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back to her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking with her about it and moved on. So Ruth makes a statement here that thy people will be my people and thy God my God. Now, you look at the two women, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with Orpah. She's not a bad person or nothing, but she made bad choices. When you look at the two women, you're one and other people are the other. You would be the Ruth of the picture, and the others in the world would be the Orpah. Because you chose, and everyone here that I'm talking to right now is baptized, so you did choose. You made a decision that you would follow God. You would follow the God of Israel, the God of Jacob. You made that decision. So Ruth is you. Now, the thing is, how well are you going to keep that? I'll call it what it is, I think it is. It's an oath. You made an oath to God to follow him. How well will you do that? See, I look at times like this part of the year after the feast, from the beginning in spring all the way to the fall time, we've gone through all the holy days. And then it's like everybody is like, whew, we made it through those holy days that year, and now we got about 6 months almost till the next one. We can chill. We can take it easy. No, that's not the way to do it. There's no chill time with God. You can't stop. You can't break your oath. You can't change what you're thinking or what you're doing unless you want to lose that very opportunity that Freddie was talking about, to stand there in front of him and see him face to face. You won't get that opportunity if you fail. I kind of picked this to go along with what I had said last week about being prepared for things. And just in general, prepared for things in life. You know, if I told you, you should put a little money away, and not talking about tithing, but you should put a little money away for a rainy day. Things happen in life, and you might need your car might break down. You might need some money for that. You think, oh yeah, smart idea, Chris. Great idea. Yeah, good. I'll do that. But when I start saying stuff like, put some extra cans away, get some extra water, get some other food, put it away, stuff like that, then you start going, okay, it's getting a little nutty now. Why? It's the same thing. The cash will buy you food if there's food to buy, and the food will feed you because you had it already on hand. I'm not going to, you don't like what I'm saying, Kane? So I'm not going to belabor that point, but I'm talking about being prepared, but then I ended talking mainly and predominantly and most into and most affectionately being prepared for Christ, being prepared for what Freddie was just exactly talking about. And this is a little follow-up to that to get into that more, because I don't want nobody taking spiritual vacations from what you said you were going to do. We had a long discussion, or I don't know, it was a good discussion at the feast around the table there talking. And I was talking about how, started off saying, we came here for the Feast of Tabernacles. We came here to worship God. And he told us to bind up the money in our hands and go to the feast and enjoy yourself. He said, buy things that you would like, whatever you'd like to eat, whatever you'd like to drink, even strong drink. Enjoy, rejoice. And so I said, well, we need to be careful on our rejoicing because we're not here for fun. Primary reason is we're here for worship, for worshiping God and Jesus Christ. So, and I said that when we start getting too wrapped up in what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to go here, let's go there. You want to get up early and go do this, and we'll try and get a Bible study in later in the day. Well, the first time you do that is the first Bible study you're going to miss because you won't get back to do it later in the day. I can guarantee you. But what I called it, what I referred to it in was drifting. You get into something, you get a thought in your brain, and you start to drift. And your eyes aren't on what you're supposed to be on, and you're kind of like thinking about over here because you're drifting. And let's equate it to driving in a car. If you drift out of your lane, you're doing something very dangerous. Same thing with Jesus, with God. If you drift away, you're being very dangerous. You could hurt yourself. Psalms 102, verse 27, we'll just read that one verse. It says, but thou art the same, and thy years shall have no end. This is talking about God, and that he laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of his hands. And he shall not perish. He shall have no end. And in Malachi 3:6, we're probably very familiar with, it says, for I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. And you kind of stop and kind of think about that for a second. He could have consumed all of the sons of Jacob and started again. Because he even talked about doing that once with Moses. But he said, no, I change not. I made a promise. Therefore, you are not consumed. So he gave us these many, many years to prove how we can't get our act together as humans on this earth. But he doesn't change. It all stays the same. So it's up to you to do the changing. It's up to you to do the adapting to him. It's not up to you to visit a church every Sabbath or so and listen to some good words or bad words maybe, and go home and think, okay, I'm a good Christian. No, that's not what you do. There has to be wholehearted concept in your mind and in your spirit that you are here for God. You are here for Christ. You didn't come here to see your mom and dad. You didn't come here to see your friends. You came here to worship God Almighty and His Son, our Savior. That's why you're here. We do have fellowship. We do have a good time. We do eat. We tell some jokes, even silly ones, and we pick on each other. But that's not why we came. I didn't come here going, oh, I got that joke I want to show so-and-so. I want to tell so-and-so. No, I'm coming here. Well, in this case, I came here because I had to preach something. And so Freddie came here because he had to preach something. Because we both want to come here and worship God. And y'all should be coming here to want to worship God, not to do anything else. It's all about Him. Ephesians 4:22-24 says, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust, and be renewed in your spirit of your mind, that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Are you that? Are you righteous and true in your holiness? You know, you can do that as a human. Yeah, we mess up, but no, you can make it there. And that's what I'm talking about here, is that we don't have time to drift. I mean, you've heard me talk. I get up here and I talk a lot about end time stuff. And I've made a few points of time in reference to things. And, you know, if it starts all happening in 50 years, that's still pretty close. And some of you would be alive. I probably would not, thank God. But some of you would. And you're going to have to deal with it. And you ain't going to deal with it if you're over here drifting thinking about something else you want to do, but not thinking about the Father or the Son and what you committed yourself to do. We can't have them change for us. That's what the world does. God is there to make them happy. God is there to make them wealthy. God is there to fix little things for them. All this kind of stuff. But no, you watch their lives and they're still doing everything that God says don't do. So it's not real good to live like the world lives. You live in it, you put up with it, but you don't live like it. You live like, Freddie said it, live like Abraham. Sun up to sundown, sundown to sun up again. Just day by day. Do your thing, always keeping everything here, and these things, doing things that are godly and not ungodly. Stay away from sin. And we know what it is. It's easy to do. It's easy to do. To follow it and not commit sin. We mess it up here and there. Well, I know we do. Not making excuses, just saying it, what's true. Romans 1, verse 21-25, it says, because that when they knew God, they glorified Him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshiped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. That's the story of the world. They take this book that we always read, like Freddie was saying, and they corrupt it and make it say what they want to hear, what they want to feel, what they like, and everything else. I mean, we know that God doesn't want us to eat certain types of animal. You can go through the book. They go through the book and say, no, you can't. Well, we can still go through the book and say, no, he doesn't want you. And even way in the future, he doesn't want you to do that. And then there's other stuff on and on. I'm not going to get into every little piece there. But this is the way of the world. And this was said back when Paul wrote this to the Romans. It was also said way back before God let them have a king. He told them that they were going to mess up. He told them, you're going to get all crazy. You're going to go do all these things. I'm not going to go back into Deuteronomy and read all that. But he told them, why do you want a king? You have me. But no, they were men trying to do things like men. So other countries had a king. Doggone it, we want one. And he told them, you're not going to do good with a king. It's not going to go well for you. He said, nope. But then God told Samuel, basically, don't whine. It's not you that they're refusing. It's me that they're refusing. They refused God. Like Orpah did. She said, no, I'm going back to my family, to my land. Ruth said, no, I choose you and your God. Y'all are my family. He is my God. We made the choice. We have to live up to it. I always like to, when I talk something like this, I like to throw this in. Someone may disagree. But in Genesis 19:26, it says, but his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. I believe firmly that Lot's wife looked back, longing for her life, wondering what she was going to do. It was not just a casual, I stumbled and looked back, and God said, I said, don't look back, gotcha. No, it wasn't that. He said it for a reason. Don't you look back and long for your life. You're with me. I've got your life. He sent angels to save them. I believe she was longing for her life. She was wondering, what will I do now? My home is being destroyed. And look back. You can think on that however you'd like to. Go back and read the story. Luke 17, verse 31, it even says, in that day, he which shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. That right there kind of helps me make up my mind that she was looking back, longing for her life. Because it goes right into it in verse 33, after remember Lot's wife. Seeking to save her life, she looked back, wondering what she was going to do. Instead of saying, God said do this, God's with us, keep going. And that's what you do. You said you're going to follow God, keep going. Don't look back. There's no need to, because you've changed. You should have. God doesn't change for us. It's his way or the highway. Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. Doesn't change. And then we get into Colossians 3:8 through 11. But now ye also put off all these, anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that if ye have put off the old man and his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond or free, but Christ is all and in all. That right there, that last little bit, talking about all them different people, Greeks and Jews and circumcision, uncircumcision, barbarians, Scythians. Ruth was not an Israelite. She was an outsider from the Gentiles, the nations, a Moabite. She chose God. She is the perfect example. So would Rahab be. Perfect example of a person, the stranger that sojourns with you. When God makes those comments to the Israelites in the Old Testament, that's what he's talking about. A stranger, meaning a person that's just not Israelite born, but an outsider, but has chosen your God as their God and walks and moves and acts like you. Keeps the days you keep, keeps the food laws you keep, and has chosen God Almighty. That is what happened there. Ruth is mentioned in the bloodline of Jesus Christ. And she's an outsider. So is Rahab. Outsiders. But no, God from the very beginning had a way for people, whoever they were. If they chose him, he chose them. That's what a great God is. That's what a great God he is. Awesome. If you will choose him and stick to it, he will be with you. He will remove the burning pain. He will make you feel comfortable. All life will not be comfortable. All life will not be a pleasant walk. My pain may come back. We'll see. I hope not. I'll ask him not to, but we'll see. But I'll get through it. Paul got through it. I'm not going to go there. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Exodus 34:12. What I was saying earlier, that we live in that world, but we don't live like that world. Exodus 34:12. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be a snare in the midst of thee. That's what you do if you live with that world or like that world. You start acting like them. You go out there and you live like you. You live like this book here says. You do what God says and you be proud of it. God ain't worried about that kind of pride. That's not what's going to make him upset with you. That kind of pride is when you build something and you go, look what I've done. And you forget to say, look what God did for me, or helped me do, or led me to do. Something like that. Hebrews 11:13 through 15, it says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And the truth, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to return. But now they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. We see the story of Ruth and Orpah. She wanted that country. She turned back. It says right there, it might have had opportunity to return to their country. Well, she took the opportunity and she went back. But we have made another choice, not to live like that world. We live differently. And now we keep that going. We stay with it. We do not falter. We do not drift. And then God is not ashamed to be called our God. And he's preparing a city for us that may be here soon. I hope so. It's simple to do for the most part, especially once you've been into it. And most people here are talking to you right now, unless I've got some new people online listening or something. It's not hard. Once you get into the habit, keeping God's rules, commandments, his precepts, his ideas of how a human should live is not hard. Matthew 22:36-40, it says, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and prophets. Now, I'm not going to do it, but you can go through every commandment and show how that is being a good person. Either loving God with all your heart and all your mind, or loving your neighbor as yourself. You can see it. They're just simple rules of how to act right. They're not things that just because we'll mess them up here and there, that we just throw them all out the window. I mean, you get a dog or a cat, you know somewhere along the line it's going to throw up on your carpet. Does that mean you just throw it out the window? You just get rid of it? I don't think so. That dog, I know he's going to throw up on my carpet one day. I'm just going to take him out back and shoot him. No. We need to develop gusto. Gusto. It means enthusiastic and vigorous enjoyment or appreciation or vitality marked by an abundance of vigor and enthusiasm. And vigor is full of physical or mental strength or active force. Has a sub-meaning that says belief in special revelations of the Holy Spirit, religious fanaticism. That's what you got to be. You got to be a religious fanatic in God's world. You got to be crazy about him. You got to be crazy about his word, his love. I mean, really, do you believe that what you do was a special revelation from God through his Holy Spirit? You should, because it was. Are you a fanatic for God? If you do something in this world, whatever, and you do it with all your heart and all your strength and all your might, with your gusto and vigor and enthusiasm, you do it that way all the time, nobody's going to really care what you do. They won't say a word. They're just going to go, yeah, that's what he does. But you go out there among those, I won't use those words, but, and you start showing that you're floundering, that you're waffling, that you're drifting, and they'll take the opportunity. Satan will send them. He can't put his hands on you if you're with God. But he can get real close to you through those ones he can control and does control. And that's how he does it. I believe wholeheartedly, if you've got the Spirit of God in you, he cannot do anything to you if you will keep yourself from drifting. But those people out there, he can control them. And he can get them close to you. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do, the way you do it, and you do it like you love it, nobody's going to care what you're doing. They're going to see, you can't do nothing to that man, that woman. You can't change them. They're doing whatever it is they're doing. They love it. They're fine. But you start waffling. You start acting a little goofy. You're going to get it. Because they're going to try and pick you apart and push you down and tell you you're wrong and tear apart what you think you're doing. What you say you do, but you're not really doing it because you're waffling. And that's the problem. We can't do that. We have to be on top of things. Mark 8:38. Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he cometh in the glory of his Father and with the holy angels. And again, what Freddie was talking about, if you want to see him face to face, you can't be ashamed. You can't waffle. You can't drift. You can't let that world into you. You have to fight it. You have to stay on top of it. You have to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. Trust me, you're not going to miss out on anything in this world. I've seen it all, done it all. Been around some of the vilest people in the world, and you ain't missing nothing. You're not missing a thing. if you can do this, if you can make this, and you know you can do it, I believe in you. I have faith in you. God would love to see you do it. And I think a lot of us are doing it. I don't know. I don't follow everybody around. I don't know what you do or don't do. But if you can do this, then you can read these next two verses. And when you read them, you can have a little wry smile on your face. Kind of like, yeah, I like that. 1 Corinthians 15, 51 and 52. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. And you'll see him like what Freddie was talking to, face to face. You'll see him, what it says, you'll see him like he is, because you will be like he is. Awesome. And you read that, you just kind of go, yeah, I got this. But you got to have it. Just like if you're going to say, I got this, then you got to have it. You got to get the power. You got to get the vigor, the enthusiasm, fanaticism. Let's call it that. I don't care. We're not talking about going out and blowing up buildings like the fanatics in the Middle East. We're talking about loving God. We're talking about loving Jesus. We're talking about following them. And we're talking about trying to teach others as best we can. But, as Freddie was saying, you come to Jesus because God drew you. And through Jesus is the only way you're getting to God. So, we try, but it looks to me like God and Jesus have to do a little bit of moving of these people. They got to find the right ones and get them to us. But that's what we're looking for, is that last little, that time when we all change. And I'll close out with these verses in Luke. And it's a little bit of a warning. Luke 21, verses 29 through 35. It says, And he spake to them a parable, Behold, the fig tree, and all the trees, when they now shoot forth, ye see and know your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise, ye, when you see all these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time in your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting, drunkenness, and the cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unaware. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man, face to face, like Freddie was saying. This generation shall not pass. When you think, when it says in the beginning, or up just above that, when you see these things come to pass. He's talking about the generation that sees them and the things that we already know we're seeing. And remember, it reads like the last generation is going to be the generation that sees the nation of Israel reformed, reborn. And it also, you can't have the end time events that are spoken of in Revelations or anywhere else without a nation of Israel, which we now have. I know everybody thought that the world was ending. I've got a 20-page booklet that will give you every time somebody predicted, going back to Jesus, that the end of the world was coming and what date it was and everything like that. Popes, just men, scholars, scientists, this, that, and all these other people, fake Jesus guys and stuff like that. But it's 20 pages, and some of them are just little paragraphs like that. One of them was a Chinese guy. He started a whole war over it. 20 million people were killed because he said he was Jesus. He was God's second son. and led them into. So don't ever think that the Chinese didn't know about Christianity. They had it back then. I think that was in the 1300s or 1400s, something like that. But still, there was no nation of Israel. It couldn't happen. It couldn't have happened. But you have all the things that are needed now. Things can happen quick. Things can happen fast. Just as quick as that war in Israel started the other week, it could be done. It could be over. Things could go right back to normal. But then again, it could get worse. We don't know. You have to be prepared. You have to be ready. You have to make sure you're ready to be able to stand there before the Son of Man. That's your goal. And it'll be fun. You can have that wry smile, I guess. Okay, I'm done. Kane's going to come up. I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll come up here and say something that ain't so